I'm LA mayoral candidate Paul-E-Tics, back for another informative edition of Getting Candid with the candidates over coffee. Eric Preven is a 30-year veteran of the entertainment industry and a member of the Writers Guild of America. For years, Eric has served as a watchdog for the people of Los Angeles, looking out for their interests and taking City Hall to task when those interests are not being served. Now he's drawing upon his years of experience and deep understanding of city politics in his bid for mayor. Let's talk about the man behind the mayoral candidacy.
I grew up in the suburbs of Manhattan, and I made my way out to California after going to the University of Michigan. My first gig was on a soap opera called Santa Barbara on the NBC lot in Burbank. Johnny Carson and I would drive to work together.
Wow.
From Malibu. It was not in the same car, but I would see him from time to time. But then I started writing for sitcoms, and I got hired on a very promising show with a little guy named John Cryer, maybe you've heard of him, called Partners, and that began a whole chapter of a decade of writing on TV shows. This is where I've made my life, and I've really come to be an Angelino.
So then let's fast forward into 2010. Something very personal happened.
My passion for local government kind of emerged, when I went to my first Board of Supervisor meeting in connection with a personal thing. And I realized that there was a lot of business being done by these five little kings, and there didn't seem to be anybody really paying attention. And, I started to dig a little deeper, and I became very focused on their weekly agenda. So I would look at it, figure out what was going on, and try to weigh in on behalf of the public. And my focus is really on transparency and the feeling that we are here. Because when folks are operating the public stuff in privacy and secrecy, bad things happen, I find.
When the people check out of the political process or are not involved in the political process, politicians thrive, but politics withers on the vine.
That's right.
And I think that work you've been doing is saying you better be acknowledging the people.
I think that there's an insult of the public's intelligence sometimes.
I read recently that the Board of Supervisors, as you pointed out earlier, basically rule almost unchecked.
They've tried on a number of occasions to expand the board, and it has not succeeded because they like it this way. Money talks in government and in politics, and that's what I've been advocating, that's what I've been talking about, that we need elected officials who are working for the public directly, and that's why money out of politics would be great, and we should be having debates on Channel 35. Yes. We do not need, Mr. Amore, and I know you agree, a velvet rope down at City Hall. And this is something when I first walked into City Hall in 2014 or 13, I was like, are you kidding me? It's supposed to be about engaging members of the public. We send about half of the people who come down on their various issues that are so important away and say, sorry, it's not on the agenda today. It looks like it is, but it's not. I'm going to fix that. And I've been working on it. And my campaign on that is they can try to resist it.
People are really impassioned right now to take action. And we're seeing a lot of people take action, but it seems the focus of that is national, and yet nowhere are you more affected than by what's happening in your backyard.
Well, I think it's a great point, and I encourage people to realize the impact locally that you can have, and by shaping the future for our leaders and the way they behave. And I'm a little disillusioned, and whenever an entity is in power without the appropriate checks and balances, it's bad. And when you hear that there are guys angling to change the vibe and bribing, literally bribing in this case, by campaign donation and by hiring lobbyists to get the council member and the mayor to give favorable treatment to a guy for a piece of city property that's going to really be the linchpin to undoing what we have in our community. So I'm vigorously against that. I know he's going to make a lot of money, the developer in that case.
You are self-educated around so much of what's going on in the city. If somebody said, hey, look, I've got an issue that I don't like what's going on in the city, what can they do? How can they go out and make a change?
Excellent question. So the first thing you have to do is get a copy of the agenda, which is on the internet. And you enter City Hall, you have to go through security on the first floor. There's a little kiosk up there, and you can sign up to speak on an item, or you can just watch the meeting that starts at 10. Also, the county board meeting is Tuesday morning, and people are welcome there. And both of them are public meetings, so you're completely welcome.
It's not as hard as people think to get out there and have their voices be heard, is it?
No, it just takes one step down. If you have a full-time job in the morning, you're going to have to find a way to call in sick or do something. I guess not call in sick. There should be a call in civic.
I like that.
I'm going to
Like
go to a
jury
meeting.
for getting jury duty.
Exactly. I mean, it's not a bad. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I'm going to work that into my platform because there should be some opportunity from people to participate.
Call in Civic's a fantastic
Call in Civic.
initiative.
There we go,
I'm
yes.
on board with you on
Let's
that
do
one.
it. A half hour a
I love
week.
it.
Thanks.
Great. So tell me a little bit about your main, give me a little summation of your main platform ideas.
I think we have a wide-ranging set of problems, from homelessness, which is obviously front burner for a lot of people, and I've been vocal about some of the things that are working, where Department of Health Services under Mitchell Katz are investing some of their budget in places, because the cure for the illness of homelessness is a place to stay.
Is a house.
And you've been very articulate about that, and we all have. And so then there's, of course, crime and safety is important to everybody. And I'm very upset about the decision to put overtime cops in harm's way. So I'm a big advocate for smart law enforcement and for community policing, obviously. And my desire to fix what's wrong with City Hall and Measure S is a ally in that battle, and it's definitely worth supporting.
S has been one that has kept me up at night, to say the least. I've really dug into it, and my concerns around S, namely around the fact that we have a massive housing shortage in Los Angeles, and complicating matters further by making it harder to build, it's a stopping point for me. I support all of the spirit around revising the city plan, which is horribly out of date, the general plan. If I were to be mayor, that would be one of the first things I were to do. I also am obviously massively in favor of checking the corruption that is going on between builders and City Hall. What gives me great pause is this moratorium on building.
But there'll be no moratorium on building if it's within the plan's rules. This is a substantial part of, if you don't want to change the law or break get a zone variance, you can build.
I understand, but what about, taking parking lots and making those into structures for the homeless? I mean, we won't be able to be creative in the way I think we need to be in order to solve this problem.
Well, I hear the point, and I would say that the government needs to fix this quickly. And once we do, entrepreneurship will thrive. I am here telling you that Yes on S will be a success for City of Los Angeles, because people from all over who've had to go to Austin, Texas and other places, because there's no certainty. What do people like? Fair and equitable. I don't want a city that is going around leaning on their residents' property over old luggage because they need money. Yeah. And they do need money. Why do they need money? Because of mismanagement and because of giving favorable deals to kind of abusers of the public's trust. How do they do it? Because they hire some lobbyists, they campaign contribute, and then they get contracts that are not fairly bid. If we did more fair bidding, there are so many people who would love to have a job cleaning a building, and it's not far from reality, because it happens all over America, where people have fair and equitable bid. But in a big city where the money and the stakes and those little pashas become powerful, you need to occasionally clean the house.
I think what you're bringing to this conversation is that it's a boys' club. And it's not about the people. These career politicians who are in this, they lose sight of why they originally got in it. It becomes these are the processes. This is how we do things, rather than, is this the best way to be doing things for the people?
Yeah, I mean, it's a culture, and when you create a culture like that, to succeed in that culture, you have to. That's why people make an evaluation. They go, Maury, how much money have you raised? Right. Or Mr. Preven, how much money have you raised? Because that's what they're focused on. But that's not what Los Angeles needs. And the good leaders, look what happened in America. Mm-hmm. People started to march away from the status quo. And, and I think that some opportunists benefited from that, obviously. But, we need to change our leadership. We can't keep doing the same thing. And we have to invest in ways to bring up challenges.
Essentially, we're disruptors, That's right. We're disrupting the process, saying, no, guys, sorry, this isn't working as you say it is.
And something I will say, because it's important to say, and you've brought a lot to the conversation, is civility. Mm-hmm. Although certainly some of the other characters have been critical, I am a watchdog. Mm-hmm. That is sort of, as you say, almost every day. So that's different. I hope that, I can transition from that kind of critic to somebody who can implement those ideas that I write about every week. But I always, as I said, civil, I think, is so important. I'm not a guy who throws bananas at people or gets angry.
You get passionate.
I get passionate. Yeah. I do get angry. I'll rescind that one.
So we're talking about civility. What do you think about my idea about love in politics? Is that something that you think we need?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think that by focusing on one of our core connectors among humans, you're doing a great service. I mean, I think people could really benefit from being more compassionate.
Yes.
So I think what people are curious about is how did you get into, I mean, I know that you were involved in a festival, but what made you realize, hey, this is a platform that I can use to make more change? When did that occur to you?
For me, it was more of what I was seeing happening nationally. I've been talking about this idea of voting for love, and I saw this anger and this division, and that politics are becoming this blood sport. And I said, we have to do something better than this, and maybe vote for love. And the idea of voting for love, maybe that's what the world needs right now. What I'm trying to bring to the table is a paradigm shift in the way that we play the game of politics. And in the way that we have this conversation around politics.
I think yes, and I think that it's great that you're platforming it that way. And I mean, I hope that it continues beyond just this campaign, and I hope that you can infuse other groups with it too. And so I'm very pleased that you're doing that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think about my roots in politics, and the best sense of community is what you kind of try to channel in a political environment. There's a mayor in Colombia who came up with the idea that these terrible neighborhoods could be made better if we put something really good in them, like a beautiful art center. And people said, "You're crazy! It's crime!" But he insisted. He got elected on a mandate, and he did it. And guess what? That neighborhood gradually changed into not a fancy fat cat rich neighborhood, but the crime receded, and the pride in ownership, and those kinds of decisions would make LA kind of morph into the future of a more equitable place. Because I think that the idea of walls, a little walled enclave in the hills, I don't know. I don't think that's sustainable. I think that we need to find people to be in our city, not have just luxury condos, and yet we're mired in traffic, and there's no real people.
Diverse city, and our history is a diverse one. And if we don't celebrate that, then we're going to live in Starbucks.
That's right.
For people who are interested in learning more about you and your campaign, where can they find out more?
Well, you can find out everything about me at www.ericpreven.com. And we write in City Watch LA almost every week, and we'll continue to do so. That's with my brother Joshua, who is my campaign manager and co-conspirator. And I look forward to a great election day. You've done a great job. A vote against Eric Garcetti could be found with the other Eric.
I thank you so much for all of your service, and I look forward to getting to know you more.